This is the cold email infrastructure course I wish I had when I started. Most people think their cold email campaigns fail because of bad messaging or bad targeting. But the real killer is actually happening much sooner than before your first email is even sent. And that happens in the email infrastructure setup. My name is Nick, I'm the co-founder of AutoMind Solutions, and we've had more than 40 recruitment agencies building lead gen systems and using AI automation to build their business more sustainable and more efficient. In this mini course, you'll learn what's actually killing your deliverability before you hit press and send your first email, how to build an infrastructure that protects your main domain's reputation, and the right way to warm up your mailboxes and domains to keep them in a long-term deliverable state. Bookmark this video and use it as a reference for whenever you're starting with an own outbound campaign or want to set up your own email infrastructure. Let me first explain you why email infrastructure actually matters and what is what we call the domain death trap. And a lot of agencies out there are starting to do cold outreach from their main domain because they think, okay, it's my reputation, it's my normal domain, everyone knows my business and it should be the main point of contact. But this is only fine if you're sending very low amounts of emails. Once you're starting on a specific scale, this will ruin your email deliverability and will prevent your candidates and clients to receive your communication. So overall, this will just have a bad impact on your domain reputation in the long run. And it not only affects one single mailbox, it affects all the mailboxes which are running on that domain. We've seen this already a couple of times with clients that basically just killed their main domain and haven't been able to message their existing contacts, their internal team, and basically had to set up a whole new email system on Google or in Outlook. The main problem with using your main domain for cold outreach is it works until it doesn't. And on a small scale, you can always use your main domain if it's 20, 30, 40 messages probably per day. You should not worry too much. But once you scale that up to a couple hundreds or thousands of messages per day, this scale will just break your email infrastructure and ruin your communication towards clients and candidates and ultimately also your internal communication. So basically you have to reset up your whole email infrastructure when something goes wrong. So here's the infrastructure setup that I would recommend if you ever want to start a cold outbound motion. I would cluster it into two different domain types. There's the main domain, which is, for example, autominds.com. And then I would have a set of disposable domains, which would be hiautominds.com, heyautominds.com, meetautominds.com. So you basically have variations of your main domain that you can easily get rid of if they are burned through or you want to replace them. And you just get different domains that always linked to your main domain, which is an important point because I get, of course, the point of your reputation of your brand. So you want to have, when people look up your domain, the disposable ones that they get linked to your main domain. And it is super easy to do in the tools that we're using. You just create some variations of your domains and set them up for cold email infrastructure with specific mailboxes. That means not all 10 mailboxes run on one domain, but they would run on 5 domains, 2 mailboxes on each domain. This way, we cut the risk from 100% to 20%. That means if one email mailbox gets flagged as spam, we lose maximum 2 mailboxes instead of our whole domain with all the 10 mailboxes. This not only helps us, of course, in the financial aspect, because otherwise we would have to replace all the 10 mailboxes. This way, we only have to replace 2 mailboxes and we can still keep sending from the other 8 in mailboxes. So you don't lose the opportunity cost from having no infrastructure and you're saving money by just having to replace 2 mailboxes because the other ones are still fine. So we call this the risk reduction strategy. So we have basically the email infrastructure that keeps securely, keeps sending volume, and also lowers the price to replace email inboxes. By the way, if you are currently looking into your email infrastructure, you want to set it up, or you have the feeling that your emails aren't delivering into your prospects' inboxes, we have created a full guide on how you can set this up on your own. And we upload that into our resource hub. It's fully free and step by step. So I've put the link into the description of this video, so you can just go ahead and download it from there and set up your own email infrastructure according to all the best practices that we're using across 40 clients, and it's working quite well. So now let's talk about how this actually is set up and which tools help you do this, because you might have already looked into this and you saw you have to look up and create SPF records, DNS records, buy specific domains, set them up, which is definitely not the case. So there are tools out there that make it super simple for a beginner to set up their email infrastructure with just a few clicks. So we're working with 2 vendors that supply us with our email infrastructure setup, and these are InboxKit and Zapmail. They allow you to purchase domains and mailboxes from Google and from Outlook. Basically, it's reseller mailboxes. They get like a cheaper price, so you're not going to pay 16, 17 euros or dollars for Google and Microsoft mailboxes from Google directly, but you're buying buying them via their services. So you get them for a cheaper price, and they do the whole setup for you via an own interface that you can basically log into, set up your mailboxes, and then instantly transfers them to your sequencers, which can be instantly Smart Lead, Lemlist. So whatever sequencers you're using, most of them connect to this tool and you can instantly transfer them there once they're set up. So it's kind of a one-click setup that you can use to set up your email infrastructure. So these tools allow you to set up a very good email infrastructure from the get-go. That means you're having Google mailboxes, you're having Outlook mailboxes. I will always get both providers because you can use like an ESP matching. That means Google mailboxes will send to Google mailboxes of your leads. Microsoft mailboxes will send to Microsoft mailboxes of your leads, which obviously also increases the email infrastructure and deliverability. Anyway, this doesn't always solve all your problems. So cold email infrastructure is a continuous game and it's not a one-time setup and you never have to worry again. First of all, there's a thing called email warmup. So now that you have your email infrastructure set up in Inbox or in Instantly, you most likely want to start sending emails right away. But that's not possible, and I would never recommend to do this because this will ensure that you will land in spam folders quite quickly. So even the best email infrastructure does not work if some of the fundamentals are not right. And if you just see it from a natural human perspective and you see a mailbox that has never sent a single email before, starts blasting out 50, 100 emails per day to random email addresses, this just looks very fishy to all the mailbox vendors and will land you in spam folders. So what we have to do here is we have to warm up our email infrastructure. And there are so-called warm-up pools out there, which for example, Instantly has one, SmartLead has one, and there are tons of other vendors that offer these warm-up pools, which is basically a collective of email addresses that naturally send emails to each other. That means if you, let's say, buy 10 mailboxes and you add them to the warm-up pool, these mailboxes will send and receive mails from the other emails in this pool and will also open, reply to these emails. So it looks very natural that these emails are communicating with each other. So why this helps is these emails look like they have been maintained by a human before and will not look like just a disposable email infrastructure that was just meant to spam people with cold emails. So to have that, it always makes sense to run this for at least 2 weeks. So 2 weeks is the minimum warm-up period that you should be running to have them warmed up for outreach. But even better if you run it even longer. So 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the longer the better, obviously. And there's another thing that you can also do. It's not a 100% requirement, but it definitely helps with the deliverability, is that if you have aged domains. So if you have domains that are older and haven't been flagged as spam and just been laying around, these domains have a higher reputation. So I know it's not always possible to find all domains that basically relate to your company name, but if you have some, you can very well use them for your outreach and connect them with these mailbox providers to set an email infrastructure for them up and use these aged domains. That said, let's jump to the next topic, which is the volume ramping strategy. So a volume ramping strategy is gradually increasing the volume of your cold email campaigns over time. So you would not want to send 35, 40 emails per day per mailbox right away, because this would just be not naturally compared to the warm-up period before. Because during the warm-up period, we usually send around 20 emails in the warm-up pool per day. If you now just double it and then you still send it to unsolicited emails that most likely not always reply in the same frequency as the emails in the warm-up pool, you will ultimately look not natural anymore, and Outlook or Google or the other mailbox vendors will likely flag you as spam and ruin your deliverability. So what we always suggest is basically starting small with 15 emails, then to 20 emails, and then to max 25 emails. So this keeps sending volume natural and keeps it basically in the limits. What I would do as an addition to that is, even though I'm sending emails to my prospects and to my lead lists, I would still keep them in the email warm-up. I would just change the settings. So instead of sending 20 emails in the warm-up pool, I would probably just send half of that, 10 emails, and I would decrease the reply rate to 30-40% just to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the emails that you're already sending. But this keeps still some replies coming in, some emails going out to save email addresses. It still looks natural for the email provider that you're sending to. So now let's look into some client results. What you see here is Instantly, which is our cold email sequencer of choice. So we're using this for our own outreach, we're using this for our clients' outreach, and basically it's a sequencer for specifically cold email campaigns, and it's made for bigger volumes of cold emailing. The way it works is basically that it allows you to connect your cold email infrastructure to it. It means if you're using InboxKit or Zapmail, you can push the email inboxes that you create with them directly to Instantly and keep them in their warm-up pool to stay safe, stay healthy, and keep sending emails in their warm-up pool. So, and this is the campaign dashboard where you basically see the performance. This is a client campaign that we've run for one of our clients who's working in the New York market for UX and UI designer positions. And here we contacted only 1,090 candidates. So we actually sent emails to their personal email addresses and we generated a 27% reply rate, which is an insanely high number. And if you consider it's even harder to land in personal email addresses inboxes than in work email addresses inboxes, this is a really, really good result here that just proves that deliverability matters. But deliverability is not only the single thing that makes your campaigns successful. It's a correlation between deliverability and messaging, where deliverability is of course the higher priority because you cannot iterate your messaging if you're not landing in the inbox. That means if you're not landing in the inbox, you're just guessing by optimizing your messaging because you don't have any real market feedback. If your email is landing in the inbox and you have a good messaging that you can test, you can really find your messaging frameworks and work yourself towards response rates and positive reply rates that you actually want to have. So here you see some more campaigns that we're running for one of our German clients where we basically use a job scraping mechanism. That means we're targeting open positions which are currently on the market. We're finding their hiring managers and then basically sending them an email. And you see here as well, 40% reply rate, a 30% reply rate. This is way above average than the industry average. The industry average is around 1 to 5% max, which is already considered very good. But with the right deliverability setup, you can even exceed this. And with a good messaging, you can even go higher with the reply rates by just having the right message for the right person. If you want to see some more case studies of how we helped other businesses, like for example Sprung Consulting, where we booked more than 100 meetings within 90 days, or Cast UK, where we helped them make their first placements within 3 weeks of sending emails and won a retained search within the same time frame, then check out our YouTube channel. We'll link the videos somewhere here on the screen. You can check them out there. So now that you know what kind of an impact a cold email infrastructure can actually have on your outbound results, you're most likely already ahead of 90% of the people which are out there. And if you want to set this up yourself, then feel free to download the resource in our resource hub. There's a step-by-step tutorial that you can download it and get started straight away. But if you're running an agency and don't have the time to set this up, that's exactly what we do at AutoMind Solutions. We build the whole infrastructure, manage the whole tech stack, and get you a scalable outreach system. So if this is something that you're interested in, then feel free to book a call with me via the link in the description, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.